My name is Scarlett Monroe, 34 years old, living in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm a freelance interior architect, recently engaged to Jordan Wells, the man I once thought was my entire world. We lived in a penthouse apartment with a balcony overlooking Shelley Lake. Not a mansion, but it was what I called home. That evening, I was curled up on the living room sofa, laptop open, flipping through color swatches for a luxury downtown condo project. Jordan was in the shower, whistling and singing Billy Joel like the world had never once given him a headache. His phone was lying face down on the coffee table. Then, ding, a soft chime. The screen lit up. I didn't mean to look, but I did. Not out of curiosity, but because the name on the screen sent a chill down my spine. Jillian, my little sister. The message was short. Booth 9, 7:15, candlelight. You'll love it. I blinked, rereading to make sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. But it was real. It came from Jillian Monroe, the same woman who once borrowed money from me to finish grad school, who crashed on my couch for an entire summer after her divorce, who once told me I was the only person she still trusted in this lying world. Booth 9, 7:15, candlelight. I knew that restaurant, Montage. Jordan took me there for our 2-year anniversary. He'd said, I reserve this place because it's worthy of you. And now? I didn't pick up the phone right away. I just stared at it. Like, if I kept staring, the words might magically reshape into something harmless, a meeting with a client or a friend's birthday dinner. But the sender, the time, the champagne glass emoji, there was no lying to myself anymore. I reached for his phone like it belonged to me. My hands didn't shake, my heart had already frozen. The passcode was still my birthday, 0612, still the same. The screen unlocked, and I tapped into the chat with Jillian. It wasn't one message, it was a thread, a long one, from weeks ago. I still think about that night. Wear that red dress. Don't worry. Scarlett won't remember. Sweet dreams of me. I couldn't breathe. My hands still didn't tremble. I wasn't the kind of person to collapse into sobs when the truth hits. I just got up, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of cold water. Not because I was thirsty, but because I needed something to keep me from screaming. When I came back to the couch, Jordan was stepping out of the bathroom, hair wet, smiling like the whole world was tilting toward joy. I looked up at him. Do you have plans tomorrow night? My voice was barely a whisper. He frowned, towel drying his hair. Tomorrow night? No. Nothing, really. Maybe a meeting with a potential client? Why? I smiled. No accusations, no confrontation, no drama. Because in my mind, a plan was already taking shape. I texted the only person I still trusted, Alex Parker, my ex, the man who once told me, "You're the only one who made me stop pretending I didn't want to be loved the right way." You awake? Less than 30 seconds later, he replied, "For you, always." I called. No small talk, no tears. You know, Montage, I need a reservation, closest table to booth 9, this Friday, 7:15. There was silence on the other end. Then he said just one thing. I'll sit beside you. I hung up, turned back to my desk, and pulled out a brown leather notebook I hadn't touched since last Christmas. The first page still held a faint, smudged ink line. Not everyone who smiles at you stands with you. I flipped to a blank page. In thick, deliberate strokes, I wrote, "Let's see what it feels like to sit beside betrayal and not flinch." And I underlined it 3 times. The next morning, after Jordan had left for work, I was home alone. Sunlight spilled in from the balcony onto the hardwood floors, making everything look untouched. But I wasn't. I reopened the message thread between him and Jillian. It wasn't just a few sweet texts, it was an entire world behind my back. A space where I didn't exist, where the two of them freely cast themselves as the leads in a life I was building from the ground up. Their first message dated back to early March, 9 weeks ago. 9 weeks. During that time, Jordan and I had been shopping for engagement rings together. I even sent Jillian a picture of the custom dress I was designing for the engagement shoot. She'd told me, "It's a bit plain for me, but it'll look nice on you." She had even suggested a tailor in Durham, claiming she knew someone who modeled there. I believed her. I let her attend the second fitting, saying she wanted to learn the design for her own future wedding. Now I understood. They had planned this all along. Among the messages was a photo I couldn't stop staring at, Jordan's arm wrapped around Jillian's waist, the two of them sitting in the corner of a restaurant, candlelight glowing off the white square neck dress with delicate lace trim. The one I had chosen with care. My engagement dress. No doubt about it. I had imagined our shoot 100 times. In an olive grove near Chapel Hill, golden light at sunset, me in that dress, hand in hand with Jordan. I had scripted every detail in my mind, and now I was looking at it, worn by Jillian, with Jordan smiling beside her. I zoomed in on the picture. Every detail cut like a blade. The pearl bracelet, my mother's, was wrapped around her wrist. I had once loaned it to Jillian for a job interview. I never asked for it back, and now it sat on her, a quiet reminder of how easily I had handed her pieces of me. They had nicknames, J and J. One message even read, "No one needs to know. She's not right for you like I am, and I'm not sorry for feeling that way." Not right for him? Me? The woman who split rent with him during our first 3 years of hustling? The one who stood by him through his mother's surgery, who filled out his job applications when he was too panicked to think? An email notification pinged. I nearly ignored it until I saw the sender. Bridal Moments. TS order. Order confirmation. Recipient Jillian Monroe. She didn't even bother using a different email. Under design reference, the attached image was my dress, with the note, "Based on Scarlett M's original design, add right leg slit." I stood up so fast the chair scraped loudly against the floor. I had never felt anything so crystal clear in my life. This wasn't just betrayal, this was erasure. Copy and replace. One detail at a time. The last time I saw Jillian was at my dad's birthday party. She hugged me long before leaving and whispered, "I'm so happy for you. Jordan is wonderful." Maybe I had believed the sincerity in her voice once, not anymore. I texted Alex, "Plans unchanged. I'll need you by my side." Then I slid open the drawer under my bed and pulled out the box holding my engagement dress, still tucked inside its white garment bag. I turned over the name tag. Scarlett Monroe. Custom fitting. And I knew I wouldn't wear it this week. But I would definitely bring it with me. I wanted her to see it, to remember borrowing it, wearing it, and assuming I would never find out. I wanted Jordan to face the image of what he had betrayed, through my eyes, through my calm presence, without a single scream, without a single scene. Because the strongest strike doesn't always come with an explosion. Sometimes all it takes is one look, at the right moment, to bring everything crashing down. Montage. A French restaurant tucked away at the end of Franklin Street has only 24 tables, each treated like it's the only one that matters. I knew that if I wanted to act, I needed absolute precision, no room for error. I called to reserve a table that Monday afternoon. My voice was calm but firm. I'd like a table near booth 12, if possible. Close, but not directly facing, a spot with a clear view. Planning to supervise someone? The coordinator chuckled. I smiled. Let's call it observing a lesson in character. And I'd like absolute discretion. Friday, 7:10 p.m. I'd be there. But I wouldn't go alone. I opened my phone and scrolled to Alex Parker's name, the one man who had never taken advantage of my soft heart. We broke up 4 years ago, not because of betrayal, but timing. Two people, both ambitious, both stubborn, both unwilling to yield. But we never hated each other. I texted, "Friday, 7 o'clock, montage. Don't bring expectations, just bring a steady gaze." He replied with one word, always. That evening, I chose a black, square-neck, mid-sleeve dress. Nothing sparkly, nothing too revealing, just right. Black heels, hair pinned back, lips in a cool nude shade, no jewelry. I didn't need to shine, I needed silence strong enough to make people drop their masks. At 6:50, I walked into Montage. Alex was already there. He wore a white button-down shirt, a dark navy blazer, no tie, casually composed. When I approached, he stood, pulled out my chair without a single unnecessary word. We didn't need a script. We were two people who had once known each other, and now stood together for a truth that needed exposing. A glass of white wine had already been poured. I took a sip. My hand didn't tremble. Alex leaned in and whispered, "You still want to go through with this?" I nodded. "I'm not here to win, I'm here to end it." At 7:11, Jordan walked in. Typical look. Pale blue shirt, lightly styled hair, woody cologne. The way he scanned the room, trying to spot someone without making it obvious, was all too familiar. I'd seen that look aimed at me. 3 minutes later, Jillian appeared. Cream-colored bodycon dress, soft waves, and pearl earrings I had once given our mother, probably borrowed, from the drawer no one checks. She didn't notice me right away. They slid into booth 12. Same side. No one across. Her thumb tapped the table unconsciously. His hand rested close, but not touching. The kind of closeness that comes from practiced secrecy. At 7:19, I stood. Alex didn't stop me. I walked past their table, as if heading to the restroom. On my way back, I moved slower, just enough to make sure they saw. Jillian noticed first. Her eyes went wide, smile vanishing instantly. Her hand jerked away like she'd touched fire. Jordan turned and froze. I stopped beside their table, tilted my head slightly. "Hello, Jillian. It's been a while." I looked at Jordan. "You know I notice details, and you know, I always show up at the right time." Jillian opened her mouth, but no words came out. Jordan stood halfway, stammering. "Scarlett, it's not what you think." I smiled faintly. "Then go ahead. Tell me what you think I'm thinking." Silence. Neither of them answered. I turned to the restaurant manager, my voice light as air. "Would it be possible to join these two tables? We're having a small family conversation." He nodded right away, as if already briefed. Alex stepped in, leaned toward my ear before sitting beside me. It seemed nearly perfect. I smiled, eyes locked on the two across from us. I wouldn't yell. I didn't need to humiliate them. They'd already done that to themselves. I just needed to sit there, face betrayal, and not blink. The server quickly pushed the two tables together, his eyes flicking over the four of us like he was preparing for a diplomatic dinner, not a quiet confrontation. No one spoke. No one said bon appetit. I sat across from Jordan. Julian almost instinctively took the seat beside him. Alex remained silent at my side, steady as stone. He held a glass of wine, but his eyes never left their faces. Jordan cleared his throat. "Scarlett, this needs an explanation." I slowly swirled my wine, my voice neither loud nor soft, each word landing on the table like a pebble dropped into still water. "Then where do you plan to start? When I sent Jillian my dress design, or when she sent you a picture wearing that exact dress to your so-called work dinner?" Jordan lowered his head, twisting the napkin in his hands. Jillian folded her arms, trying to force a smile. "Scarlett, you don't understand. This wasn't intentional." I raised an eyebrow. "Intentional is booking a flight to Mexico and forgetting to mention it. This, Jillian, was a series of choices. Clear. Calculated." Alex still said nothing, but I felt his hand gently rest on my thigh beneath the table, a quiet reminder to keep my breathing steady. I unlocked my phone, pulled up a photo, and placed it on the table. Jillian, in my white dress, wearing my mother's pearl bracelet, leaning toward Jordan in a restaurant in Greensboro. "And to explain this photo?" I asked. Jillian stayed quiet. Then she gave a bitter laugh, fingertips grazing her water glass. "You always did love drama. He chose me, Scarlett. I didn't force it." I chuckled. Nobody mentioned who he chose. I just asked about the dress. Jordan spoke up, his first words since being backed into a corner. I'm sorry. I didn't know you knew, but you and I had grown distant. Jillian showed up at the right time. Things just happened. I looked him square in the eyes. Happened is the kindest word for sneaking around. Fine, let's go with that. So when Jillian sent you the quote, I wrote in my engagement planning email and then used it in your public post together. That also just happened, right? He swallowed hard. Jillian gripped his hand gently, like a warning. I flipped to another image on my phone. This time, a screenshot of Jillian's Instagram post. Her in a vineyard, Jordan behind her, hand on her back. The caption, "Love doesn't need to be loud to be forever." A line I had written the night before our engagement shoot, when Jordan had asked me to choose something personal. Alex leaned in, his voice low, speaking for the first time all evening. Looks like they stole more than a dress. I nodded. And I'm not here to reclaim it. I'm here so you both know. I saw, I remember, and I won't forgive. Jillian stood, eyes flicking nervously across the room. You act like the whole world betrayed you. You're not the only one who's ever been hurt. I didn't rise. You're right. But today I'm the one who was betrayed, and I choose not to stay silent. Jordan looked at me, his eyes holding something I no longer cared about. Regret. If you want to talk, privately, without, outside company, he said, glancing at Alex. I'm open. I smiled. The only outsider here is you. You left this relationship long ago. I'm just the one who finally ended the sentence. The server arrived with the entrees. No one was hungry anymore. I stood, took back my phone, and slid my chair out. I've seen enough, and I don't need to sit through another round of excuses. I tilted my head politely. Enjoy your evening, exactly the kind you've earned. Alex followed me without a word, but as we reached the door, he turned back and looked them both square in the eye. Scarlett didn't lose anything, but the two of you just let go of something you were never strong enough to keep. 3 days after the fateful dinner at Montage, I drove up to my mother's house in North Raleigh. It was a Sunday morning. The sky was gray, matching my mood, and a light drizzle painted blurry streaks across the windshield. I wasn't going there to complain. I needed to confirm something my gut had been whispering long before the truth came out. My mother's home sat in a quiet neighborhood with terracotta roofing and a front yard full of lavender I had once helped her plant. I had never stepped into that house with a heart as heavy as it was that day. I didn't even get the chance to knock. The door opened, and there stood Jillian, hair tied up, wearing a gray hoodie. My hoodie, the one I'd left here last year during a visit. I froze. You live here? I asked, my voice dry as a winter wind. Jillian shrugged like it was the most normal thing in the world. Just staying for now. Mom said it's okay while things settle down. I gripped my bag tighter and walked straight into the house without waiting for an invitation. The familiar smell of vanilla pecan cake wafted from the kitchen, along with old jazz playing softly, Mom's usual Sunday soundtrack. My mother, Lorraine Monroe, stood at the stove with her back to me. She wore a floral apron, hair in a bun, her shoulders slightly more hunched than I remembered. Hearing my footsteps, she turned around and smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. Scarlett, you really came. I'm baking your favorite pecan cake. I stood in the middle of the room, motionless. You know what's going on between me and Jillian, right? She paused, just for a second. I know some of it, but everyone's going through their own struggles. I frowned. Struggles? So your daughter getting her fiancé stolen by her sister, that's just a personal struggle? She sighed and set the baking tray on the counter. Jillian's not a bad person, Scarlett. You know how emotional she's always been. No, I cut her off, my voice low but firm. She's not emotional. She makes decisions over and over, and she knows exactly what she's doing. Jillian stepped into the room from the hallway, holding a teacup. I didn't want this to become a big deal, Scarlett. I already apologized. You clinging to the pain just makes you look pitiful. I turned to my mother. So you let the person who betrayed me live here, eat your cake, wear my clothes, drink from the teacup I gave you for Christmas. And I'm the outsider? My mom furrowed her brows, clearly uncomfortable. You're overreacting. Family's about forgiveness, Scarlett. You need to learn to let things go. I laughed, cold and bitter. Forgiveness isn't a raincoat you hand to whoever's dripping. It's a choice the wounded get to make when they're ready, not when the person who caused the pain wants it all smoothed over. Jillian stood by the doorframe, unbothered. You've always played the victim, but honestly, you were never the center of this family. You were just the quiet one, always expecting everything to revolve around you. I turned back to my mother. You used to say, "You're strong, Scarlett, independent. You don't need anyone to protect you." I believed you, but now I get it. That was just your excuse for never standing by me when I needed it most. My mom turned her face away. She didn't respond. I looked around the kitchen, the place where I learned how to make pancakes, the place where I once held her and cried when Jordan proposed. Now it belonged to someone else, to the person who pushed me out of the life I spent years building. I didn't say another word. I walked out without waiting for goodbyes. The drizzle still fell gently, like cold dust settling on every memory. I opened the car door and slid into the driver's seat. My hands gripped the steering wheel, not from pain, but from something deeper. Because for the first time I realized family isn't always the place you come home to. Sometimes it's the very place that first erases your name from the story. 3 days later, on a quiet weekday afternoon, I returned to my downtown Raleigh office after a site inspection. Under the soft yellow light, everything looked the same. Half-finished design sketches, markers askew at the corner of the desk, and a cream-colored envelope nestled among the papers as if waiting to be noticed. I opened it. Inside was a wedding invitation. No personal message, no mention of my name, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. Jillian's. Embossed across the card in elegant script, Jillian Monroe and Jordan Wells, authorized to begin a new journey. In the top left corner, the event company, Willow and Stone Events. And at the bottom, listed as a sponsor, Scarlett Monroe Interiors, LLC. I froze. My throat went dry like someone had their hands wrapped around it. I had never signed a sponsorship contract. I had never agreed to let them use my company's name for anything related to this wedding. I opened my computer and logged into the business banking account. A secondary account I used to support small community projects. I had once called it my Goodwill Fund, something I told Mom and Jillian they could use if needed, so long as they explained. 3 months ago, Jillian texted me late at night. "Scar, I really need to get a medical procedure. Everything will be okay. I just need help covering it this time. I can't tell Mom." I didn't ask questions. I immediately transferred $17,500 to an account under Monroe Consulting, LLC, an account Jillian used when she freelanced. I labeled the transfer Personal Medical Assistance Internal so it wouldn't be confused with business expenses. I dug up the old email, scrolled down, and pulled up the transfer confirmation. Then I typed into a commercial database. Willow and Stone Events, EIN plus Monroe, LLC, plus Scarlett Monroe Interiors, LLC. A business registry entry popped up. There it was. Registered co-founder Jillian Monroe, legal representative. Initial investment contributor Scarlett Monroe, note, private equity, silent investor. Transaction date, same day I sent the transfer. I stood from my chair, heart pounding like I'd just run miles. They used the money I sent for a medical procedure to launch their wedding planning business, and I was erased from every operational role. Worse, my name was listed as a silent investor. My phone buzzed. New email. Sender. Kelsey Dunn, an event planner I'd worked with in the past. Her message was short. "Scarlett, did you just sponsor competitor Willow and Stone? A little surprised to see your name linked to their wedding launch." I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. I typed back, quickly. No, I did not sponsor anything. I opened my filing cabinet and grabbed my legal docs. I called Caleb, my old lawyer who helped register my first LLC. Scarlett, everything okay? I didn't beat around the bush. They used my name to mask their funding, and they listed me as an investor in their company. Without my permission, without my signature. I heard him rustling through papers, typing rapidly. You have the transfer receipt? Yes, with the date, timestamp, and email trail. It clearly states personal, but they filed it as a corporate contribution. Caleb exhaled heavily on the line. This is serious. You could sue for financial misrepresentation. But first, we should send an official notice of non-consent and withdrawal of investment recognition if you want to avoid immediate noise. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. I don't need headlines. I just need them to know that I know, and that they can't pretend I never existed. Less than an hour later, Caleb emailed me the draft. Formal notice, non-consent to investment, and request for revocation of investor status. I signed, sent it. Then I leaned back in my chair, eyes fixed on the ceiling. My studio had never felt this quiet. Jillian didn't just take the man I loved. She took my trust, my name, and my money, and used it to build the fairy tale she scripted for herself, with me as her invisible stepping stone. Saturday morning, my phone rang at 7:32. The caller was Emily Tran, an independent journalist who covers startups and the events industry in Raleigh. Her voice was hesitant. Scarlett, I just received an invitation from Willow and Stone Events. They're holding a brand launch and strategic partnership announcement tonight at the Belmont Regency Hotel. And your name is listed as an honored investor. I sat upright in bed. I never agreed to appear, and I certainly didn't consent to being honored. Emily lowered her voice. You might want to see the guest list. It's packed. Designers, media, major sponsors, and I think you should be there. At 7:02 p.m. that evening, I walked into the Belmont Regency, a five-star hotel in downtown Raleigh, known for its ballroom with a silver crystal ceiling and warm honey-hued lighting. The dress I wore was classic, deep navy, V-neck, but elegant, a low back, not to show off, but to remind them I no longer stood in the wings. No one stopped me, no invitation needed. After all, they still believed I was their silent co-coordinator. They let me walk through the very doors they once tried to erase me from. I accepted a glass of water from a server and slipped into the crowd, which buzzed with flashes, handshakes, and congratulatory praise. So proud of you, Jillian. You finally made it. Jillian stood center stage, dressed in pearly white satin, holding the mic, her smile carefully rehearsed. She spoke about her entrepreneurial journey, from zero, about her dream to create unforgettable celebrations for women across North Carolina, and thanked investors who believed in her, even when she was just a determined girl with a vision. A slideshow behind her showed the company's logo, partnerships, and then initial funding, Scarlett Munro Interiors, LLC. Honorary co-founder Scarlett Munro. The room applauded. I set my glass on the nearest table and walked forward. Emily, just as we'd agreed, stood near the soundboard. When I gave the signal, she gave a slight nod. The MC was just about to introduce the next segment when I stepped on stage. Excuse me, I believe there's something that needs clarification. Jillian froze. Jordan, standing in the front row, looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. I took the mic. My voice was steady. I'm Scarlett Munro. My name's been mentioned many times tonight, but no one asked if any of it was true. I raised my phone, connected it to the projector. The first slide appeared. A receipt of a $17,500 transfer to Munro Consulting LLC, labeled Medical Support, not for business use. The second slide, a scanned legal document. My attorney's certified request to revoke any recorded investor status submitted 2 days prior. The third slide, an audio clip from a conversation between Jordan and Jillian sent to me by someone inside their tech team, the same person who'd emailed me a warning days before. Jordan's voice played through the speakers. She won't fight back. Scarlett always stays quiet. We'll gradually shift everything over to your name. By the time she notices, it'll be too late. Jillian's voice followed. She always believes people mean well. That's her sweetest flaw. The room fell completely silent. I ended my speech in under a minute. They used my trust to build this empire. I'm not here to ruin anything. I'm here to take my name back. I set the mic down. No one tried to stop me. No one applauded. Just a heavy silence, thick with shock, humiliation, and the tension of a PR disaster waiting to explode the moment this clip hit the internet. As I stepped out of the ballroom, Emily walked beside me, smiling faintly. Tomorrow, they might call you petty, but at least this time, you held the pen. I didn't look back. 3 days after I took the stage at Belmont Regency, the video of that moment, me exposing the truth, had racked up over 3.1 million views across social media. I didn't share it, but someone in the audience had. Clear footage. Uncut. Every stunned glance, every heavy pause, every word from Jillian and Jordan, echoing like the final nail in the coffin of the fairy tale they tried to build. The hashtag "She Reclaimed Her Name" was everywhere, my inbox flooded with messages from women I'd never met. Architects, marketing professionals, nurses, even a single mom from Missouri. All of them had one thing in common. They'd had something taken from them and were told to stay quiet. But I didn't give a follow-up statement. No interviews, no comment to the press. I chose something different. I leased a small space in an old building in Raleigh's warehouse district. Once a storage hub, now a creative heart of the city, I renamed my studio Marrow Studio. Like bone marrow, the innermost layer. Strong, undeniable. I took down every trace of the old brand. No more Scarlett Monroe interiors. I didn't need them to remember who I was in their story. I just needed to live fully as myself beyond the reach of betrayal. One late afternoon, as I was selecting fabric swatches with a new client, the bell over the door chimed. The glass door opened and in walked Jordan. His hair was messier than usual, shirt half-buttoned, eyes worn thin. I set the fabric down, signaled my client to wait, and walked toward the entrance. "I just need 5 minutes," he said, his voice low. "You didn't even use the full 3 last time you stood in front of me," I answered, calm but firm. He said nothing, then pulled an envelope from his pocket. Inside was his official resignation from Willow and Stone, along with a signed document transferring all shares to Jillian. "I know I messed up, I just didn't realize how fast I'd lose everything," he said. "Scarlett, if there's any way we could go back, if I could—" I cut him off, gentle but final. "I don't want if, I want the truth, and the truth is, you chose, more than once, without hesitation. And I've made my choice too, not to get even, but to protect myself." He swallowed hard, searching my eyes for a crack, but there were none left. "I don't need an apology, Jordan. I need distance. And now I have it." He nodded. No more words. When he turned to leave, I didn't look back. I turned to my client instead, as if I'd just closed a door that had hung open far too long. A week later, Jillian sent me an email. No subject line, just one sentence. "You won. Are you happy now?" I didn't reply. But I printed it and taped it to the inside cover of my old journal. On the last page, I wrote, "Happiness isn't about winning over someone. It's about no longer needing to prove anything." 3 months later, I was invited to be the keynote speaker at the Women in Creative Business event in Chapel Hill. When I stepped on stage, not to expose anyone, but to speak on sustainable design and creative independence, I knew I stood there not just as a designer. I stood there as someone who walked through fire and didn't turn to ash. At the back of the auditorium, Alex Parker sat quietly, arms crossed, eyes never leaving me. After my talk, he waited by the door. "You're doing better now, aren't you?" he asked. I nodded. "Not better, just clearer." He smiled. "That's good, because this time, I'm not missing the chance to walk beside you, if you'll let me." I didn't answer right away, but I took his hand. Some things don't need to be pieced back together. Some truths don't need to be relived. They just need to be recognized so we can keep walking without looking back. Because I am Scarlet. I'm not the forgotten beginning. I am the ending I chose for myself. Scarlet's story is a powerful reminder that dignity isn't something handed to us or stolen. It's something we reclaim when we choose to rise, name the betrayal, and rewrite our lives in our own voice. In a world where women are too often written out of their own narratives, silence isn't safety, it's erasure. Scarlet chose not to stay silent, and because of that, she didn't just take her name back, she inspired others who've been dismissed to rediscover their true worth. What do you think about Scarlet's journey to reclaim her dignity? If you were in her shoes, would you choose silence or confrontation? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more emotional family stories to come.